The galaxy whispered a name that carried fear. It was not the name of a king or a general. It was the Order of Shadows, the Empire's deadliest assassins. They were called the Shadow Blades. No one had ever seen them clearly, and those who did never lived long enough to speak. To rulers, soldiers, and even warlords, the Shadow Blades were ghosts of death. They were silent, precise, and merciless. For centuries, their missions ended the same way, without survivors. If they were sent, the target was already considered dead. But one night, deep inside the Empire's capital, a disturbing rumor began to spread. "Have you heard?" whispered a guard outside a palace gate. His voice shook as he leaned close. To his partner, "What is it this time? More lies?" The other guard replied, annoyed. "They say a human lived." The second guard froze. His face went pale under the glow of the alien moon. "Impossible. No one survives the blades." "I am telling you," the first guard whispered again, looking over his shoulder nervously. "They failed. One human is still alive." That whisper grew into fear, and fear reached the ears of the Shadow Blades themselves. Inside a dark chamber, lit only by cold blue fire, the assassins gathered. Their leader stood at the center, his face hidden under a steel mask. His voice was cold, without emotion. "One human lives," he said. "This insult cannot remain. We will correct it." The chamber filled with silence. Each assassin bowed their head. To fail was shame. To fail against a human considered the weakest species of the galaxy was humiliation. Another assassin stepped forward, his blade reflecting the firelight. "How can a human survive us? They are fragile. They are slow. Their worlds burn so easily." The masked leader did not answer at once. His eyes were sharp, thinking of the whisper that would not die. Finally he spoke. "We go together. We find this one. And we end him." The galaxy was vast, filled with stars and endless worlds. Yet, somehow, the trail of one human drew them to a broken colony. The planet was scarred, its surface cracked by war. Black smoke still rose from the ruins of cities, and silence covered the land like a grave. The assassins walked through the ashes, moving like shadows. Their senses were sharp, their blades ready. But something felt wrong. "Look," one whispered. He bent down, touching a shattered drone on the ground. Its metal body was torn apart by gunfire. This was no accident. Another assassin studied the ruins. He pointed to a wall riddled with holes, then to the burned wreckage of armored vehicles. A battle happened here, but not against soldiers. Against one man. They all stared at him in disbelief. "One man cannot destroy machines of war," an assassin hissed. The silence of the ruined colony seemed to answer for them. Step by step, the trail of destruction led deeper into the broken city. Footprints were in the dust. Human footprints. They stopped near a collapsed tower. "Do you feel it?" The masked leader asked quietly. His tone was calm but sharp. "Yes," one assassin whispered. His eyes scanned the shadows between broken walls. "He is near." Suddenly, a sound broke the silence, a metallic click, faint but clear. "Down!" shouted one assassin. A massive explosion roared through the ruins, flames and dust rising into the air. The assassins moved like lightning, avoiding death by inches. Shards of stone and steel rained down. The ground shook under their feet. From the smoke, a voice echoed. A human voice. Low, steady, unafraid. "You've been hunting me," the voice said. "Now, I've been waiting for you." The assassins froze. They were trained to kill without hesitation, but something about that voice stopped them. It was not the voice of prey. It was the voice of a predator. A figure appeared in the smoke. A lone human, his jacket torn, his rifle scarred from countless battles. His face was covered in dust and blood, but his eyes burned with fire. One assassin sneered, "You are nothing. a dying world soldier. Do you think you can fight us? The human raised his rifle, but he did not shoot. Instead, he gave a cold smile. I don't need to fight all of you at once. You came here as hunters. Now you're the hunted. Another blast shook the ground. The building beside them collapsed, burying one assassin under heavy stone. The others leapt away, but the trap had already been sprung. Explosives hidden across the ruins lit up one by one, turning the battlefield into chaos. The assassins scattered, searching for the human in the smoke. But he was gone, moving through the shadows, striking with precision. One assassin lunged with his blade, but the human's trap caught him in a spray of metal shards. Another tried to climb the tower for higher ground, only to trigger a collapsing floor that sent him crashing into the dust. The masked leader watched in silence, his eyes narrowing. This was no ordinary man. This was someone trained, someone dangerous. This human, he whispered, is fighting like an army. The other assassins regrouped, fear rising inside them. One hissed in frustration. He is just a man. Why does he not fall? From the shadows, the human's voice answered, calm and steady. Because I have nothing left to lose. And men with nothing left to lose are the most dangerous of all. The assassins felt a chill. For the first time in their lives, they realized the truth. The prey they had come to kill was not weak. He was strong, clever, and unafraid. And worst of all, he was ready for them. The ruins fell silent again. Smoke drifted through the broken streets. Somewhere, hidden among the rubble, the human waited, watching, preparing. The shadow blades, the deadliest assassins of the Empire, had just walked into his trap, and none of them were sure if they would walk out alive. The ruins were quiet again. Dust hung in the air, and the shadows stretched long between the broken towers. The assassins moved slowly now. They were no longer hunters racing toward an easy kill. They were cautious, their senses sharp, blades ready. One assassin crouched near the cracked stone and pressed his claw against the ground. He has been here, he whispered. His footprints are fresh. Another assassin leaned close to study the trail. His voice was low, uneasy. But why did they stop suddenly? It's like he vanished. The masked leader raised a hand for silence. His voice was calm but edged with warning. He wants us to follow. Be careful. This place is his battlefield. They moved through the destroyed colony, their black cloaks blending into the night. Fires still smoldered in the distance, lighting up twisted metal and fallen buildings. Every sound felt louder than it should. The crunch of their steps, the hiss of wind through the ruins, the drip of water from broken pipes. From the shadows, a quiet voice spoke. You shouldn't have come here. The assassins froze. The voice echoed, bouncing off broken walls. They could not find the source. Show yourself, human, one assassin growled. You think tricks will save you? There was silence for a moment. Then a faint metallic sound clicked. The assassins spun around, too late. A small device hidden under the rubble exploded with a sharp blast, sending a storm of sharp metal fragments through the air. One assassin raised his shield just in time, but another staggered back, wounded across his arm. The human's voice came again, calm and steady. Every step you take brings you closer to death. The assassins regrouped. Their leader studied the broken street, his sharp eyes following the pattern of destruction. He spoke slowly. These are not random traps. He is leading us deeper. Every move is designed. This is the work of a trained soldier. The youngest assassin hissed in anger. He is still only one man. We are shadows. We are death. How long can he fight? But even as he spoke, he felt the fear inside his chest. The battlefield was different now. The human was not running. He was not hiding. He was guiding them like prey into a hunter's cage. They pushed forward carefully, checking every corner, every crack, every pile of rubble. The trail of footprints returned, weaving through the ruins. Sometimes they found burned-out drones, split open with precision shots. Other times they found alien weapons smashed apart, as if someone had taken the time to dismantle them piece by piece. The assassins grew quiet. The signs were clear. The human was not weak. He was patient. He was dangerous. One assassin finally broke the silence. "I don't understand. Why is he still here? He could have escaped this planet long ago." The leader paused, staring at the ruined skyline, because he doesn't want to escape. He wants to fight. As if to answer, the human appeared for a brief second at the top of a ruined building. His figure was small against the smoke, but his stance was fearless. He raised his rifle and fired a single shot. The bullet struck the ground at the assassin's feet before he disappeared into the darkness again. "He is mocking us," one assassin growled. His blade twitched with rage. "No," the leader replied softly. "He is testing us." The assassins pressed on, but every step felt heavier. The ruins seemed alive, filled with eyes watching them. They entered a wide street where vehicles lay overturned and burned. The silence was sharp. Suddenly, the street collapsed beneath them. Hidden charges blew apart the ground, sending two assassins crashing into a pit filled with spikes of steel. Their screams echoed for only a second before silence claimed them. The survivors leapt back, landing on solid ground. Their hearts pounded, their cloaks torn by the blast. For the first time, death had touched them not as hunters, but as prey. The shadows above, the human's voice called out again, calm but edged with fire. "You killed my people, my colony, my family. Do you think I will fall so easily?" The assassins looked up, but only saw smoke. One whispered, almost to himself, "He is not fighting like a human. He is fighting like war itself." The leader's eyes narrowed behind his mask. He spoke in a voice almost too low to hear. "Perhaps that is what he is. War, wrapped in human flesh." Night grew darker around the ruins. The assassins stayed close now, blades raised, every step cautious. The hunt had changed. Their mission was no longer a clean kill. It was survival. They followed the trail until they reached the remains of the colony's command center. Its walls were shattered, its towers burned. Inside, they found messages scratched into the walls with a knife. Simple words: "You came here to end me, but here I end you." The assassins read the message in silence. None of them spoke. For the first time in their lives, they felt what their victims must have felt when the shadow blades came for them. Powerless, trapped. Then, from the far end of the broken command hall, the human stepped into view again. His rifle hung by his side. His clothes were torn, his face streaked with blood, but his stance was unshaken. His voice cut through the silence. "You thought I was weak. You thought humans were prey. But you were wrong." The assassins drew their blades, ready to strike, but the leader raised a hand. He studied the human carefully, as if searching for something beyond flesh and bone. Finally, the leader spoke. "You are not like the others of your kind." "Who are you?" The human's eyes burned as he answered. "I am the last soldier of this colony, and I will make sure you never leave this place alive." The assassins tightened their grip on their weapons. The human lifted his rifle again. The ruins grew silent, holding its breath. The next battle was about to begin. The air inside the ruined command center grew heavier. Dust floated in thin beams of moonlight, breaking through the broken roof. The assassins stood in silence, their cloaks shifting with every small movement. Across from them, the human remained. Still, his rifle steady, his eyes sharp like a hunter who had been waiting for this exact moment. One assassin whispered, his voice like a hiss. "End him now." The masked leader raised a hand. "Wait." The human smirked. "You're smarter than the rest. You know this place isn't safe." As if his words were a signal, a sudden rumble shook the floor. The assassins glanced down, just as a chain of hidden charges detonated beneath the command center. The ground split apart, throwing dust and fire into the air. "Move!" shouted the leader. The assassins leapt aside, landing within human speed, but the trap had already sprung. A wall collapsed, cutting off half the chamber. One assassin was buried instantly under falling debris, his screams silenced by stone. Human raised his rifle and fired, each shot sharp and precise. One assassin dodged, but another was hit in the leg. He stumbled, growling, but his blade flashed toward the human. The man dropped low, rolling behind a broken console. The blade sliced the air where his head had been a second before. The leader's voice cut through the chaos. "Do not scatter, hunt him together." The assassins regrouped, moving as one. They circled, their black shapes sliding through smoke and rubble. But the human did not stay still. He fired again, then disappeared into the shadows, using the broken walls to vanish like a ghost. "He moves too fast for his kind," one assassin hissed, scanning the darkness. "No," the leader replied. His tone was calm but cold. "He moves like he has fought battles all his life." A sudden clang rang from above. The assassins looked up too late. The human dropped from a broken catwalk, swinging a steel pipe. Like a weapon, he struck one assassin across the head, the blow ringing like thunder. The alien staggered, blade slipping from his hand. The human landed hard, turned, and fired again. The wounded assassin fell, lifeless. "You see?" The human shouted through the smoke. "I am not the one trapped here, you are." Fury flashed in the assassin's eyes. One lunged at him, blades flashing. The human blocked with his rifle, sparks flying as steel clashed against steel. The force knocked him backward, but he kicked out, sending the assassin sprawling into the dust. Another came from behind, silent as death. The human spun at the last second, pulling a hidden knife from his boot. The blade sank into alien flesh. A cry of pain echoed, and another assassin collapsed. The masked leader watched, unmoving. His assassins were falling one by one, not to brute strength, but to clever traps and fearless strikes. His voice broke the silence again. "You fight with rage, human, but rage does not last forever." The human's eyes locked with his. "This isn't rage, this is duty. You killed everyone I loved. I will not stop until you are all gone." The leader gave a cold nod, as if acknowledging the man's words, then drew his own blades. Twin black weapons that shimmered with deadly light. The other assassin stepped back, leaving the space clear. This was no longer a hunt. This was a duel. The human tightened his grip on his rifle, his chest rising and falling. Blood trickled from a wound on his arm, but his stance was strong. He knew this was the moment everything had been leading toward. The leader moved first so fast the air cracked. His blades slashed, striking sparks as they hit the humans. Rifle. The impact sent the man stumbling backward, nearly losing his grip. The leader pressed forward. Strike after strike, each blow sharp enough to split steel. The human barely kept up, blocking, dodging, rolling across broken stone. His rifle cracked under the pressure, dented and scarred. Finally, the leader's blade sliced through, shattering the weapon into pieces. The human fell back, weaponless. One assassin whispered from the shadows, "It is over." But the human only smiled. "Not yet." He reached into his jacket, pulling a small device with a blinking red light. He slammed it against the floor. The ground shook violently as hidden. Charges around the command center lit up one after another. The assassins froze. Explosions roared, ripping apart the walls and ceiling. Fire and rubble rained from above. The human ran into the chaos, using the smoke to vanish again. The leader steadied himself, his cloak torn, his blade still in hand. Through the fire, his sharp eyes caught a glimpse of the human limping, bleeding, but alive. Always alive. You cannot hide forever. The leader shouted. His voice echoed in the burning ruins. From somewhere in the smoke, the human's voice answered, calm and Deadly. I don't need forever, I only need tonight. The assassins searched the collapsing building, but the human had disappeared again, leaving only fire and silence behind. The leader stood among the wreckage, his mask cracked, his assassins fewer than before. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never known: fear. The night deepened over the ruined colony. Smoke curled into the sky, and the fire from the shattered command center still burned in the distance. The assassins regrouped among the rubble, their cloaks torn, their weapons scratched with battle marks. Their numbers had fallen, and for the first time in centuries, they felt the weight of failure. The youngest assassin clenched his fists. This is madness. We are the Empire's shadows. No soldier, no general, no creature has ever survived us. And yet this human, this single man kills us one by one. Another assassin's voice shook with rage. He is not a man. He is something else. No one fights like this. The masked leader stood silent, staring at the flames. Behind the steel of his mask, his mind worked like a blade. Finally, he spoke. His voice was calm, but cold. No, he is human, but he is trained. He does not fight with strength alone. He fights with his mind. The assassins turned to him in silence. The leader continued. Every trap, every strike, every step we take, he has already thought ahead. We do not fight a single man. We fight his strategy, his battlefield, his patience. As if summoned by those words, a voice drifted from the shadows nearby. You're learning. The assassins spun around, blades flashing, but they saw no one. The voice echoed, steady, cutting through the smoke. You are the deadliest killers in the Empire. But you've never faced war itself. That's what I am. The youngest assassin hissed. Coward, show yourself. The voice answered calmly. A coward runs. I'm still here. Suddenly, lights flickered across the ruins. Old colony drones, repaired and reprogrammed, hovered into view. Their eyes glowed red as they circled the assassins. Some carried weak rifles. Others carried explosives strapped to their broken frames. The assassins raised their weapons. Drones? One sneered. Old machines will not save you. But the drones did not attack directly. Instead, they moved in patterns, hurting the assassins, cutting off escape routes, forcing them toward the broken streets the human had already prepared. From the rooftops, a rifle cracked. A single shot dropped one assassin to the ground. The others scattered for cover, but every corner of the ruins seemed hostile, as if the entire city itself was alive and obeying the human's will. The leader ducked behind a shattered wall, his cloak singed by fire. He whispered to the assassin beside him. He is using everything: machines, ruins, even the silence. He thinks like a soldier. A voice answered from above, calm and sharp. Not just a soldier, a survivor. A grenade dropped from the rooftop, exploding in a shower of fire. The assassins rolled clear, but another trap triggered, a tripwire that detonated a chain of charges. 2 assassins were thrown into the air, their bodies crashing into steel beams with sickening force. The survivors regrouped, breathing hard, their black armor cracked. One assassin shouted into the smoke, "What are you?" From the shadows came the answer. "I was a soldier of Earth. My world fell, my people died. You think you ended us. But Earth teaches its soldiers one thing above all: never stop fighting." The words carried weight heavier than any weapon. The assassins, killers of kings and empires, felt their confidence shake. This human had lost everything, and yet he fought with more strength than entire armies. The leader's voice was low, almost respectful. "You cannot kill us all. You bleed, you tire, we are many. You are one." The human's voice grew colder. "One is enough." Gunfire rang again, echoing through the ruins. Another assassin fell, his cloak catching fire as he collapsed. Youngest assassin cried out in fury. He broke from cover, charging into the shadows. "I will end this myself." The others tried to stop him, but it was too late. The assassin sprinted into a narrow alley, blades flashing. For a moment, silence. Then came a scream, short, sharp, and final. The alley grew quiet again. Only the human's voice returned, soft and merciless. Another mistake. The survivors stared into the darkness. Their confidence was shattered. For the first time, the hunters truly felt like prey. The leader stood slowly, his mask cracked from battle. His voice was firm, though quiet. "He is not stronger than us. He is not faster, but he is more dangerous, because he thinks, because he adapts." The assassins looked at him, waiting. The leader finished. "We cannot hunt him as prey. We must fight him as war." From the rooftops, the human watched them regroup. His breathing was heavy, his arm bleeding from a fresh wound, but his eyes burned with unbroken fire. He whispered to himself, words no one else could hear. "They think they know war. They've never seen Earth fight." The ruins grew silent again, broken only by the crackle of fire and the whisper of wind. Both sides prepared, knowing the next clash would decide more than life or death. It would decide who controlled fear itself. And as the assassins tightened their blades, and the human set another trap in the shadows, one truth became clear. This was no longer just a hunt. It was a war of minds. The city was falling into silence again. The fires had burned low, the smoke drifted higher into the night sky, and the ruins looked like the bones of a dead world. But inside those ruins, the fight was far from over. Only 2 assassins remained now. The others had fallen to traps, bullets, and fire. The human had cut through them with patience and fury, leaving only the strongest and the leader himself. The masked leader stood tall, his cloak torn, his blades black with soot and blood. The assassin beside him was bigger, faster, and more skilled than the others had been. His curved weapons shimmered faintly in the dark. The leader's voice was low but firm. "This ends tonight." From the broken rooftop above, the human's voice came steady and cold. "Yes, it does." The human stepped into view, his body marked with wounds. Blood streaked down his arm, and his jacket was ripped in several places. His rifle was gone, destroyed in the last battle. All he carried now was a blade scavenged from one of the fallen assassins. Still, he stood with his back straight, his eyes burning like fire. The larger assassin sneered, "You are broken. You can barely stand." The human gave a small grim smile. "And yet, I'm still here. More than I can say for your brothers." With a roar, the large assassin charged. His blades flashed in the dark, cutting through the air with deadly speed. The human ducked, rolled across the ground, and slashed upward with his stolen weapon. Sparks flew as steel met steel. The clash rang across the ruins, echoing like thunder. Blow after blow, the assassin pressed forward, his strikes faster and heavier, forcing the human back step by step. The leader watched in silence, his masked face unreadable. The assassin struck hard, kicking the human against a wall. Dust rained down as the impact shook the stone. The human groaned, but forced himself to stand again. His blade trembled in his grip, but his eyes never wavered. "You fight well," the assassin hissed, "but you will break." The human spat blood onto the ground. His voice was steady. "I've already broken. That's why you can't win." The assassins snarled and lunged again. Their blades clashed in a storm of sparks, every strike heavier than the last. The human ducked under one swing and slammed his shoulder into the alien's chest, forcing him back a step. But the assassin recovered instantly, kicking him down hard onto the rubble. The human coughed, dust filling his lungs, but he refused to stay down. He rolled aside just as the assassin's blade came down, slicing deep into the stone where his head had been. From the shadows, the leader finally spoke. His voice was calm, almost thoughtful. Do you know why you still live, human? It is not strength. It is not luck. It is because you fight like us, ruthless, without fear. The human staggered to his feet, blade raised again. His voice was hoarse, but strong. No, I fight because I have something you don't. I know what it means to lose everything. And that's why I'll never stop. The assassin roared and charged again. This time, the human did not dodge. Instead, he stepped forward, letting the blade slash across his side. Pain exploded through him, but he endured. With the last of his strength, he drove his knife deep into the assassin's chest. The alien froze, his glowing eyes wide with shock. Slowly, his weapons fell from his hands. He stumbled back, gasping, then collapsed onto the rubble, motionless. The human dropped to one knee, his breathing ragged, blood dripping from his wounds. His body shook, but his grip on the blade never loosened. Now only two remained. The human and the masked leader. The leader stepped forward slowly, the firelight glinting off his cracked mask. "Impressive," he said softly. "You are the first to face the shadow blades and live this long, but your body is failing. One final strike, and it ends." The human forced himself to his feet, swaying but unbroken. His eyes locked on the leader's. "Then come. Let's finish it." The leader drew his twin blades, their edges glowing faintly in the dark. He moved with deadly grace, each step silent, each motion controlled. The human tightened his grip, blood dripping onto the ground. For a long moment, the two stood still, staring at each other. The night held its breath, then they moved. The leader's blades flashed, slashing like black lightning. The human parried one strike, dodged another, his movements slower but sharper, each one fueled by pure will. Sparks lit up the ruins as steel clashed against steel. The leader pressed forward, faster and faster. The human's blade cracked, splintering under the force. With a final strike, the weapon shattered into pieces. The leader raised his blade for the killing blow. It ends. But the human moved first. With a sudden burst of strength, he grabbed a shard of broken steel from the ground and drove it upward into the leader's mask. The sharp edge pierced through, shattering the mask into fragments. The leader staggered back, his face revealed. For the first time, his alien eyes burned with fury and disbelief. Blood ran down his chin as he tried to raise his blades again, but his body failed him. He collapsed onto his knees, staring at the human in silence. The human stood over him, panting, bleeding, barely alive. His voice was steady, even as his body shook. "This was never your hunt. It was mine." The leader's eyes flickered once more before going dark. His body slumped forward, lifeless. The ruins fell into silence again. The last of the assassins lay dead. The human, broken but victorious, stood alone in the shadows. He looked at the bodies around him, then at the sky above. His voice was barely a whisper. "One man against the Empire's deadliest killers, and I am still here." The night answered with silence. The war was not over. But the assassin's legend was broken, and a new legend had just begun. The battlefield was quiet at last. The smoke drifted into the cold night, and the broken stones glowed faintly from dying fires. The human stood alone among the ruins, his body trembling from wounds, his breath heavy with pain. All around him, the assassins lay dead, their weapons shattered, their shadows gone. The leader's mask was cracked open, his lifeless eyes staring into nothing. It was over, but the silence felt wrong. Too deep, too heavy. The human turned slowly, blade still, in hand. Every sound made his heart pound harder, stones shifting, the wind whispering, the faint crackle of fire. He whispered to himself, "It's finished, isn't it?" Yet something inside told him this was not the end. From the distance came a faint hum, soft but steady. It grew louder, like a drumbeat in the dark. The human lifted his eyes and saw lights moving in the sky ships. Not one, not two, but dozens. They descended slowly, forming a ring above the ruins. His grip tightened on the broken blade. His voice was cold. So this was only the beginning. The ships hovered silently, casting pale light across the ruins. A voice echoed from the sky. Deep and commanding, "You have done the impossible, human. You faced the shadow blades and lived. The galaxy will not forget this." The human narrowed his eyes. "Who are you?" The voice gave no name. Instead it asked, "Why do you fight when you are only one against many?" The human's reply was quiet, but strong. "Because someone must. Because silence is worse than death." For a moment, there was only silence. Then the voice spoke. "Again, your defiance will spread. Others will hear of this night. The legend of the last survivor will grow. You will become more than a man. You will become a warning." The human spat blood and raised his blade. "Then let them hear the warning loud and clear." The ships did not attack. Instead, one by one, their lights blinked out, and they rose back into the sky, vanishing into the stars. The ruins were silent once more. The human sank to one knee, his strength failing. His wounds burned, his vision blurred, but he forced himself to stay conscious. He knew he could not die here, not now. Not after all this. Footsteps echoed softly. Behind him. He spun, blade raised, but what he saw froze him in place. A figure stood in the shadows, cloaked, tall, watching, its face hidden. Beneath a hood, the human's voice was low. "Another assassin?" The figure did not move closer. Instead, it spoke in a voice calm and strange. "No, not assassin, witness." The human's grip tightened. Witness to what? The figure tilted its head. To the birth of a legend. Anger flashed in the human's eyes. "I don't care for legends. I only care for truth." The cloaked figure gave a faint, almost sad smile. "Legends are truths that survive the fire. You stood alone, and you won. The galaxy will remember, even if you do not want them to." The human shook his head. "I didn't win. I just survived." The figure's voice lowered, almost a whisper. "And survival, when all else is gone, is victory enough." Before the human could speak again, the figure turned and walked back into the shadows, vanishing as suddenly as it appeared. The night grew colder. The human looked at the sky. Stars scattered across the darkness like shards of glass. He whispered to himself, "If this is the beginning of something greater, then let it come." He staggered forward through the ruins, his body broken, but his spirit burning. Each step echoed louder in the empty streets, as if the earth itself carried the sound. Far away, in hidden halls across the galaxy, whispers began. Stories spread of a lone human who faced death without fear, who defeated the assassins sent to erase him, who stood when no one else could. Some called him a monster, some called him hope, others called him a warning, but to all, he was something more. He was proof. The galaxy had believed humans weak, fragile, easy to crush. But this night had changed everything. Now every empire, every fleet, every shadow organization would remember. One human had stood against the deadliest killers in the galaxy, and he had not fallen in the silence of the ruins. The human paused, blood dripping onto the broken stone. His body was weak, but his voice was steady. "Let them come. I'll be ready." The wind carried his words into the night, across the empty city, into the stars. And so the legend began, a legend of shadows and fire, a legend of pain and defiance, a legend of one human who refused to die.